Hey everybody, in this video I will compare AMS to AC a bit better than yesterday when we were just driving them at the same time. That turned out to be a less than optimal way to compare the two. So I'm making an F40 in AMS just for fun, see what I can do. And I'm driving some AC, which I've spent only like 30 hours playing in the last 10 years. So my experience with AC is quite limited. And this is not really a direct sim comparison, I'm just curious how it feels there. But obviously with thousands of hours in AMS versus dozens in AC, you do not get a fair comparison. And I'm a developer of AMS, so where will my preference be? Of course, it's going to be biased towards AMS, so don't take it as AMS is better than AC. They're very, very different. On top of that, in AC, I just wanted to get this out of the way. I used Content Manager for a few things. Disabled the gyroscopic force feedback effect, which helped a lot. It speeds up how the steering wheel sort of starts reacting and gains speed. That gave me a far better connection to the car, so definitely consider doing that. By default, it enables some sort of damping effect that it doesn't really, I don't think it's to blame. The idea is clever, but it doesn't work too well on direct drive wheels maybe. The damping effect is too strong and the wheel is too sluggish to start turning. And when the car slides and you let go of the wheel, it sort of spins up a bit too slowly and you're behind the case. And we will see that the handling is a bit more slidey maybe in AC than in AMS, so that made it very hard for me. So no gyroscopic damping using Content Manager. I also unpacked the physics files and did two things. In AC, the braking torque is too low, which means, well, too low. We also have that in AMS. It's a game design choice. And it's a good point of iRacing actually, where in all cars it seems if they don't have ABS, you can actually lock the tires up at any speed. And in AC, with the F40 at high speed, you can just keep 100% braking and you won't lock up until you unload a wheel by turning in and then the inside wheel unloads, or it may be at low speed. But a lot of the time you cannot lock up, and I always adjust the brake strength in my sim so that you can lock up. You need like 80% braking force on the straight, 200 miles an hour, you will lock up. So you have to modulate the brakes. You cannot just keep it at 100%. It's like ABS almost. So that's what I changed in AC, as well as one effect on the tire physics, which is a slip angle dependent rolling resistance, which I've never seen data for. I don't think it's real. I turned that off, so the car I'm driving is not even the one you are driving in AC unless you've modded it as well. So again, it is not an direct AC AMS comparison. It's just some of the differences that I found, and you of course are free to flame in the comments on how I'm an AMS fanboy. But yes, I'm probably an AMS fanboy because it's my baby. However, the end conclusion is quite positive because both of these games are so different, but very natural to drive, and you feel like a hero in your F40, which is very rewarding to drive, unlike some modern sims. So in many ways, these old games still are the king in a way. So we'll do some skidpad driving, some straight line swerving, just some notes. I don't even remember what I said, so maybe it won't be interesting. Maybe it will. Probably a long video, and this intro is long as well. So let's just get started. I hope you enjoy this sort of more in-depth, rambly, incoherent look at two old sims, presented to you by an old man who is in dire need of a shower, because this is indeed the same shirt I wore yesterday. It was a bad decision. So enjoy that if it's your thing, and I'll see you later. Bye bye. So we do 130-ish and start swerving a bit. Doable, definitely. Force feedback feels delayed though, a bit. It's not like, I don't think it's a force feedback. I think it's just there is a certain floatiness of the rear end. That's what it feels like. See how sluggish that is, and what that means, I'm turning left and right at 130 k's, but it almost feels like the car is at a certain state, changing from minus 1G to plus 1G. but the 4-seat is sort of lagging behind that a bit. So when I'm turning, when I turn from left to right, it almost has no resistance, and then it takes a while for the 4-seat to come. So it doesn't feel, it feels a bit unstable because I don't have good feedback of how much grip I'm pulling, which is quite a bit. I'm going from near the limit to near the limit. If I increase it, oh. You can definitely transition quickly. And get into a sort of almost oscillation, which is controllable still. As if this car has big turbos. But even at low speed, or at low steering speeds, it feels like I don't have to apply as much lock. The quicker I go, with my steering, that is. That feeling you have, the difference between being in control and being out of control seems less, maybe. It's hard to tell, of course. Like now it's happy. Oh, it's going to be unhappy. Don't go on the grass, you muppets. And it takes a few, because maybe my skill definitely forces you back. Once it's out of control, I'm having a bit of a harder time. Of course, I've played Assetto Corsa for a couple dozen hours, and AMS for a couple dozen more. So do it one more time in second gear, and then compare it to AMS. It's very hard to do a constant speed as well, with the throttle model being what it is. So even though it felt like there I wasn't quite at the limit, it still ended up snaking like that. No chirp on the downshift, despite fairly abruptly letting go of the clutch. Now let's lift off the throttle. Yes, one of the differences is I sort of have to stop my steering and know the car will turn with me. The 4-seat is sort of not guiding me quite as much. Letting go, it's a little oversteery when you let go, but it barely makes a difference. Yeah, on the limit a little bit. Even when I let go during the transition, it's quite well behaved. When I lift off, it does turn a bit more, but I can also do it at a constant throttle simply by being a little bit more abrupt. The 4C-back kinda wants to overreact a little bit. So it is a little difficult to consider how much opposite lock I have to apply there. And I think I would describe it as there is not as much of a transition between a happy car and a sliding car. You feel like there is no special effort needed to overcome the stable zone of grip. Because it starts out a bit more floaty and less stable than I would think, maybe. Let me just get in my real F40. Oh. It leaves me guessing a little bit. And off throttle is slightly more sensitive. Let's do that one more time, off throttle. Very abrupt into first gear shifting, no chirp of the tires. Let's go to the rev limit and let go. It is a little bit more oversteery, but still quite stable. Alright, so what is this like in AMS? So now in AMS, where subjectively the 4C-back is about the same, it feels incredibly different. Like it feels I'm in a safe zone now, because I'm not quite at the limit. 4C-back ramps up and stays there. Whereas in AC it felt like during the transitions the 4C-back sort of isn't as immediate. So I'm below the limit, it's all completely safe. I don't have a feeling that this might develop into oversteer, whereas in AC, which I've played a couple dozen hours and I've played this a long time, so if anything you're seeing men being used to this game more, but it is definitely different. The car is happy now, and I also need more lock, I think, of center, more stability around center. So this is completely safe, whereas I'm not too scared of things suddenly happening. Of course, if we ramp up the speed, we sort of flick it a bit. We are now occasionally getting closer to the limit, but I have to push it much harder to get there. Again, this can have a zillion reasons. So this is not meant to be, look at this game being better than the other game. You would not get a objective view from me anyway, because this is my game, you know, so don't take it as that. So let's ramp up the steering now, the speed, the transitions. It's still quite happy. It feels more like I have initial rotation, which is then caught by enough rear tire grip to stabilize it. And that's what I missed in AC, where at some point the rear would just, you would throw the weight around and it would just continue. And here it seems like when the load arrives at the outside rear tire, it's happy. See, and now you just have to really flick it. It feels like I'm now entering a stage where from stability I get to a neutral stage. So I'm not steering, yet the car is still... So it's technically more oversteery than neutral. Let's do it some more. Running into the DirectX 12 ray tracing sun, so it'll be a bit bright. It's much easier to do a constant speed. But that's the throttle model, we're not looking at that so much. It just gives me a lot more confidence again. That is also my game. My brain is wired for this game. Neutral. Neutral. Gradually pushing harder. Almost at the edge. I'm still taking care as if I'm playing AC, where I would not have that same confidence. It's just interesting how huge the difference is. Okay, let's take a brave pill and find the limit. A bit sketchy. But you still think the rear is still with me. Oh, he says. I have to be very much alert, but it still feels like the rear hasn't quite given up. And in AC we saw that it didn't take as much to make the rear unhappy. And you see the stability in the force feedback as well. Remember letting go of the steering wheel. It centers a lot quicker. Oh, now let's doing this. Let's get go of the throttle. Ooh, yeah, still all right. I'm a little bit more aware here, also because I know that this is an area where the rear is still there, but The load transfer to the front tires definitely makes them a bit more grippy. So what if we are more at the limit and during the transition we lift? Oh, I added throttle again. Lift. During the transition, like I feel it coming, but it takes a lot less off throttle to feel that rear end reach its limit. But we haven't, I think, gone lock to lock crazy yet with the resulting oversteer. Again, guys, of course, I'm so used to my own sim and not as much to AC. Let go. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That was a bit scary. But doing it on throttle is fine. Let go. Ooh. But yeah. Without any force input, the tires self-align and I'm just going straight. So let's do some skid pad driving. I think I'm at about 100 meter. Is there another circle? No, it's not another circle. Finding the limit of grip. Constant speed, around 125, a little bit more. Yeah, turning more doesn't work. Watch the line. Let go of throttle now. Sort of sticks to it a little bit. I hear a bit of a noise. I feel like I lose speed quite quickly. And then we tighten the radius. Just add throttle. We'll definitely understeer, even if we release the throttle there. Add a bit of throttle. It's only gonna cause understeer. Can we get oversteer? Let's try full throttle. Yeah, there it goes. Have to do full throttle though. I cannot really get into oversteer with slight little dabs. Maybe combine half throttle with a bit of chucking. Sort of gets it neutral. And of course, you can go absolutely crazy if you want. Just like that. So how does that work in Assetto Corsa? So let's do the same around 120-ish. I think this is the outer line. Again, it feels like the rear is already moving more. I need less steering lock to be at this, yeah, far less steering lock to be at the limit. Like 60 degrees. It still builds up a little bit. Maybe. It feels like the rear is not as connected. Let go of the throttle. The speed does not drop off when I let go of the throttle. Not as quickly. Still, the engine braking, if I can check the physics files, seems that it's roughly the same, but I don't know how that's possible. Again, at the limit. Let go. Maybe. There's not a hint of oversteer though. In AMS, you also hear a bit of tire noise. The rear isn't as happy. It has its load taken away from it. Yeah. And it doesn't tuck in as much off throttle either, because it doesn't lose speed as much, or it just doesn't get a little... That load transfer doesn't feel like it makes the fronts any happier. Whereas in my sim in AMS it feels like, hey, the front get a bit of extra load, I'm gonna pull you into the turn a bit more. Yeah, I just follow the line for a bit when I let go. And I couldn't really get into a oversteer with mild inputs. But here, since the rear doesn't seem to have that same, okay, we build up grip and we have grip and then maybe we lose a little bit. Because the rear feels less planted here, it also takes a lot less effort to break it loose. Because if I just start turning and then add the slightest of throttle, so as long as I've started to turn and the car is rotating, then adding throttle, it will just rotate more, it seems. And I'm doing this at half throttle in Assetto Corsa, which at half throttle at low RPM is unlikely to have the same engine torque as AMS. So I'm thinking I'm applying a lot less engine torque. Yet there it goes. It doesn't have to go over a hump of initial grip. It seems to instantly... Yeah, it just doesn't... There's no confidence in the rear. It just starts to slide. Once it starts to slide, it just slides more and more. It's controllable. But unlike in AMS where I had to force it, I couldn't just wiggle it. Here and when you're going, it's AC, it's quite controllable. I think my tires will be a bit on the warm side on that side now. So that's quite a big difference. Off throttle it doesn't tug in as much, and since there doesn't seem to be as much grip at the rear, we can overcome it with very sluggish steering and throttle inputs. And when it goes, it's sort of, hey, there we go. Which is easy and progressive in a way, but it lacks that feeling of safety, of this being a safe road car. Well, how safe is an F40? Because it has no trouble exceeding that limit of grip. Like, absolutely no effort required. So I'm here at the limit-ish, and I just add a bit of steering, a bit of throttle, and there it goes. Tiny bit of throttle, tiny bit of steering. So that is very much different. Let's just go back to AMS one more time to make sure I'm comparing apples to AC to AMS, I suppose. Yeah, so if I just give it a little bit of throttle. And again, I am applying more torque, it's more likely, at the wheels than in AC with the same throttle percentage, but and the oversteer is more stable. So if you use a lot of throttle, yeah, I can depend on it more in the sense that the rear won't get as much out of shape with the same smallish inputs. It can still do that, obviously. So let's take him out to track at Spa for a couple laps. Another small difference, and this time I would say in AC's favor. When you're at the rev limiter, it actually cuts power. The rev limiter in AMS is so good, unrealistic, that there's still power. So, So in AC, it cuts the power and it affects your power slide, and in AMS it will still have all the power that the engine has at that RPM, which is quite unrealistic. Brakey, brakey. Understeery. Oversteery. Nice. It's a lovely car to drive, let's make no mistake. It just doesn't have a lot of grip. I think my car in AMS has maybe a bit more cornering grip than in AC. I'm running the 90s tires. No, I'm not running the 90s. I'm running the regular street tires in AC. So remember this F40. Yes, it is 1980s, 1990s, but it had quite advanced tires and it did over 1G in the Skidpad test, which is still a good number today. Wait, oh, a bit of understeer, but full throttle in third gear just about neutralizes the understeer. Understeer here, definitely brake. I'll just take second gear here. It's off boost at the exit in both sims. There we go. Brake at the end of the wall-ish. Nice heel and toe. Continue braking. Small turbocharger comes in. Try to brake in a straight line, turning in, brake, downshift. Ooh, gets a little squirmy, but fairly stable there. Brake a little after 200. Ooh. That's about the limit. Still on the nose, still on the nose. Felt the rear come a little bit there. And of course you can use all the throttle you want and then the brake progressively comes out. Downhill braking. Steering it on the throttle, that's pretty nice when that works so well. It drives out of the turns quite nicely on the throttle without necessarily being understeer or oversteer, sort of a nice neutral steer. This, you can easily get understeer, but if you have full throttle in third gear, if you don't mind being terrified, I'm a little bit more alert off throttle. You seem to get a bit more turning from the car off throttle than in AC, and I get the occasional chirp of the rear tires on downshifts as well. Again, full throttle third gear will help you out. How much to brake? About 200 Ks. Braking nicely there into the turns. Throwing it down the hill, down a gear. Oh, it's not a good line. Will I get in trouble? Ever so slightly. What am I talking about? I'm negative. It's a good line. So I am more fearful here of braking on the nose. And that makes that entry a little... During the transition there, I also lift off. And this is nicely driven on the throttle. A bit spastic. Oh, this is too late. I think I might just... I've suddenly become a bit spastic here. Oh. Braking all the way to the apex. And finding the throttle. And then just use all of the throttle. It progressively turns. On the nose, see, on the nose you can get a bit of oversteer. But the car has a safe zone in the middle, which makes it feel, but of course, being my sim, with many thousands of hours of experience with it, I can keep the car in a happy place where it's four-wheel drifting a bit more, rather than being in big understeer or big oversteer. So this is a little bit quicker of a lap. Again, turning it on the nose. And made it. Almost. Oh, too late again, too late again. We'll make up for it through Eau Rouge. Yeah, I feel... Oh, I was about to say confident going full throttle there mid Eau Rouge, but it got a little sketchy. But more four-wheel drift sketchy than huge oversteer sketchy. Let's just... Oh. yobbo for a little bit, just by entering a bit quickly and then throwing it in a little bit. Pick any angle. Here in third gear it's going to be a little difficult because we need all the throttle. Backs out, backs out. It struggles a little bit to sustain the drifting, and just to do that, you know, and there we go. Those were the lock stops very nearly. So, having now warmed up the tires, let's do one more lap. Tire heat is not as huge a deal here, so it will be alright once we cross start finish. Ooh, I fell, you know, there in the high speed turn. It started to come around. Let's not brake too late now. Still on the brakes, a bit too much. Maybe the rear tires was not really that warm the way I modeled it. The heat evaporates quickly. So it's just being on the nose a bit too much while entering. So it was a bit messy. So you have to come off the brakes, combine that with the turn in, and then you can get neutral. Neutral handling that way. Is that too late? Oh, I'm braking deep. I'm wary of that, leaning on the fronts while turning in, but it announces it via the sound. And just knowing that you're at risk from what you're doing. As well, rear sticking with it. On the steer now, but technically there's tarmac, it's fine with me. That's fast. Four-wheel drift at 200 plus. Ooh, occasional chirpy tires and the braking is at the limit. Be a bit cleaner, hopefully. A little bit. I have reasonable stability and confidence through Eau Rouge. The car will tend to slide on all tires rather than just the rear, so that's Nice. Entering at high speed, but we just made it. I wasn't planning on taking the curb, but it happened. Bit of understeer, but develops. This might be too fast. Understeer. That's track. I had to set it up before the turn rather than trying to fix it mid-corner. There's no way. Oh, big four-wheel drift into there is a bit scary. Well, that's about it. 238.5. So here in AC, may I remind you, this is not quite stock AC. I changed two things. First, the braking torque I unpacked the physics files. The braking torque was too low in my opinion. We also did that with AMS on most cars. To make it easier to stop, we limited the strength of the brakes, and that means in AC and as well in other sims and in AMS as well. You can just press 100% brakes and the tires won't lock until you start to unload the tire by turning in, or you go at low speed maybe if the downforce falls off. If you press hard enough in a car like this, you can lock the tires at 200 miles if you wish. So I changed that to make it more sensitive. And that gives you a lot more feel for the braking. If you can just keep it at 100%. See, now I'm trying and then it started to lock up. If you can just keep it at 100%, it takes a lot of feel away, because it's like force feedback clipping. You lose all the detail. And there is one parameter in AC that is, I think, at least not there in AMS, and I've never seen evidence for it. There is a slip angle based rolling resistance, which I've never seen, so I had taken that away as well. So this is not the experience designed by Kunos. And remember, this is not a which sim is better, it's just what are the differences, and then we can all be confused why these differences exist and which is better. Well, that's as if agreeing on the internet is even possible. So let's see what this does. Let's brake at the end of the wall as well. That does seem to be a little easier. It's a little weird because I'm using the regular street tires on this car, which seems to give me a bit less cornering grip than in AMS, but maybe more braking grip. So braking downhill. Yes, that braking and downhill braking is a bit more stable than in AMS, as if that load transfer doesn't happen as severely. Yeah, braking seems a little easier. say that was also fairly nicely driven on the throttle without it getting all out of hand. And here, yes, just like, oh, will not count. Oof. It progressed there where I wasn't really expecting it. So in AMS I could go full throttle in third gear and it would sort of become neutral and in the end oversteery. Here it initially started like that, so I was happy, but it kept going and I wasn't ready for it. You're just closer to big slides here when you're at the limit. You have to do less to go from optimal grip to big slide. Just less steering lock required everywhere, it seems. This is about quite understeery, about the same, and then they're on the brakes. Roughly the same speed. No steering lock to change direction slightly. And that sort of sluggishness there compared to AMS, which might be overly responsive. That little lockup there wouldn't have happened with the default braking torque. I think it adds a lot. You know what's funny? That you sort of feel ACC in here as well. Because there is that sort of lack of initial, let's call it bite. That's a very unscientific. So the car can progress into a big slide, and that takes quite a while. It doesn't take as much effort to get there, which is also what I initially felt maybe a bit about ACC, which I've not driven for a while. Where, like here, it gets sort of a, oh yeah, still growing, still growing. Now I'm expecting it and I'm controlling it. There are some evidence marks on the road that last time we didn't fare that well. We still haven't had a chirp on the downshift, despite, in theory again, the engine braking, if I looked at the files correctly, should be about the same. To enter this corner early with this such speed, without the grip. Oh, like... I have to learn that that might happen, because it seems like we're not at that limit where the rear will just give up. And there it just really came around. But I know that now, so... even there, every little slide can develop. You have to sort of be ready for it just to continue and continue rather than be caught by the rear grip. Yeah, it started, and now I'm aware that it's likely to continue. Not being as experienced in this game, I find myself dealing with a far more, in a way, sluggish reacting car, but I'm driving it more nervously. Which is of course partly down to a few dozen hours versus a few thousand hours. It is extremely enjoyable though, let's not forget. If iRacing drove like this, we would all be happy. Because in only a few laps from AMS to this, and a few crashes. Oh, big understeer. You get used to it. Ooh, slow floaty. Try to do a legal lap, so same lap time, 2:38. As well, same as happened in AMS, on the brakes turning in, the car oversteered a bit, so that's nice to see that it's sort of the same. It happens a bit differently, but also not too differently. I just have to be careful that what seems like a small slide could be a very big slide half a second later. A slow slide that if you know what's happening, you can control it, but a little on the nose on braking, that's pretty nice. Just remember, the slide might become big. Overspeeding. That's not a lot of grip there. So it takes a lot more effort for me to try and keep the car in the happy four-wheel drift zone. It's very easy to get out of that and then you're just in a sluggish, sort of very long slide. I bet it wouldn't feel sluggish if it happened to you in your F40 200 kilometers an hour at Spa. No evidence of previous mistakes are visible. Just one more lap then. Oh, let's understeer. Yes, it's... Well, we saw... Oh yeah, drifty. Let's go drifty. This is where it helps so much to disable the gyroscopic effect in Content Manager and the advanced force feedback features. Because before that the steering was way too slow to react, to speed up. And now power sliding it is about as easy as it is in AMS. It just doesn't snap back to center as snappily. Yes, that's the definition of snap. Can we do this as well? Which is not just a... I don't think it's just a force feedback, it's also just the physics themselves. Oh, oh, that was the lock stops. But the same happens, just enter a corner a bit too fast. Maybe a bit weight on the nose and it will start sliding. And then you can control it at any angle you wish. If I had a bit more experience, I would have been a bit more smooth with it, but you can already see that it doesn't take super skill. So 2:38, about the same lap time. So we are near the end of the video then. Have we learned anything? Well, yes, two sims are not the same. Seen that the force feedback and the handling in AMS is more sensitive off center. It has more grip off center, gives you more confidence maybe off center, and you have to upset it a bit more, either with a lot of throttle or really having weight on the nose when turning in. And once the car starts to slide, things that I do in AMS affect the slide more directly, whereas in AC I felt that once I had the slide, maybe because of my inexperience, the slide had plans to develop a lot further regardless of me. Of course there's a big experience difference. It's not just a different physics engine, it's different numbers. This one, the slide stops there, and I feel it would have continued in AC. Of course, once you are sliding at that point, you're not being fast. But at the same time, being on the nose here is more tricky. Lifting off tucks the car in a bit more. It all feels a bit more involved and direct, with a bit of a safety net of initial grip. And in AC, it feels a bit more sedated, a bit more sluggish, both in how slides develop. You don't have to work as hard to develop a slide, but also what you do to the slide in the meantime doesn't affect it quite as much, and the slide will grow to, in my case, slightly unexpected proportions because I'm not used to AC as much. However, that's nice. Maybe the biggest takeaway is, here we have AC, well, here we have AMS. A game that's over 10 years old. AMS is, the technology, most of it is also over 10 years old, and we have two very sort of naturally, logically handling cars. Different, that's for sure. And over when esports guys comment on AMS, they like it a lot because it's just natural, logical handling. And lots of esports guys, and it doesn't have to be esports guys, there's lots of people feel that it's intuitive, and the same goes for AC. Despite being quite different, it's just sort of intuitive, you learn it, and you can drive by feel. And yet these are old games by now. And some of the newer ones, lofty goals, but weird, it's lovely. Slidey handling, or just strangeness in Rensport, or let's just make it intentional. It just goes to show that even though the sims are very different, AC and AMS, the result is very predictable handling. There is a huge amount of enjoyment to drive. And again, this is not so much a judging of which is best, but I think they are both. I would be so much happier driving AMS or AC rather than iRacing, for example, where the cars just never feel that connected and controllable and intuitive. So it goes to show that in sim racing, old can be gold. And that old engines, just because they are old, maybe they are constructed in such a way that the physics, they just make a lot of sense. And the more modern physics engines are maybe a bit too complicated for the designer's own sake. Oh, it stops eventually. And two things to repeat as well. Again, AC was not quite stock. Changed the braking strength. Removed the tire rolling resistance slip angle component, so it's not what you experience unless you unpack the physics and tweak those. And that's fine. Pay for all the track, you use all the track. And using Content Manager, disable the gyroscopic damping. That helps a lot. On the nose, yeah. In fact, that gyroscopic thing in AC, let's just make it intentional once again. It snaps back so nicely. I think maybe in AC it would have sort of continued, but the gyroscopic effect turned off in AC, yeah, made it a lot more positive for me, a lot more connected. And again, it's not even a comparison of engines, because physics engines, you can change the numbers. I'm sure you can change the numbers in AMS to make it feel a lot more like AC. I'm sure you can change the numbers in AC to make it feel a lot more like AMS. It's also not fair in a way that AC is now old, and I've used probably a few data bits that I found online on this car that may not have been available to Kunos back in the day. So it's not really meant of. People will take it like that because we are on the internet and we are meant to be polarizing everybody, but I'm really enjoying both sims. But is it strange that the guy who has worked on this sim for a decade is more accustomed to it and might prefer it slightly over the other sim? Of course not, that doesn't mean the other sim is bad, it's just subjective in a way. So what we need now is somebody to give me an F40 and a lot of brave pills, and we'll try this in real life, see how it actually feels. I might make it. I will make it. It just also seems that when I accelerate, the load transfer adds some grip to the rear tires. Maybe that's a part of it. If I read the file correctly, the weight distribution in AC is 55% on the rear axle, whereas in real life the F40 has 60% on the rear axle. Changes the handling a lot. Again, we are not necessarily A-B comparing and claiming superiority. We kind of are, but I know that is subjective. And what do you expect? And you can be glorious. Oh. And that type of enjoyment is just something you can do in both sims, and that's just great. Feeling like you're an F40 driver. So, what was the point of this? I don't really know. It's just interesting making this car at AMS, trying it in AC, seeing some differences and randomly making a video about it. It's so cool that AC is still going strong after all these years. The modding, there might be far superior modded F40s available that drive much better. It's not really a battle of the sims. It's great that it's still going. The graphics plugins, the rain and whatever people are doing to it is insane. There is modding going on for AMS, but it's not at the same level in some areas. Even mostly just the quantity of mods is definitely not there in AMS. But I think the main conclusion is that the old sims might still feel the best, which is in a way a bit sad. But then again, you can buy them for a few bucks on sale on Steam. So that's good. Remember how I let go of the steering in AC at 4th gear? Let's see what happens if I do it here. That's the first thing I'll do when I get my real F40. It's so much more snappy, stable. Very different. It's just interesting how development teams aiming for a real simulator end up with something so different. But at least in this case, both AC and AMS are a great joy to play. So with that in mind, oh, I might be out of boost. No, not out of boost. With that out of the way, thanks you for watching. I realize it's a long video that might not be interesting to all that many people, but this is the same shirt I wore yesterday, I will admit that, so now I really need to have a shower. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye.